My name is Avremi Zippel. I'm a rabbi here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I am 28 years old, and I was sexually abused by my nanny for a decade. I realize that it never gets easier. The words "I was sexually abused as a child" never roll off your tongue. If I'm going to acknowledge that something terrible has been done to me, which I was not party to, which I was not complicit in, what kind of God lets that happen? I was raised in a sheltered household. We were the household that we didn't watch movies if there was a kissing scene. That was kind of our exposure to the outside world, and I don't look back on that disparagingly. It was a childhood that was dominated by the theme of service and giving to a community and caring for others and putting others' spiritual needs above one's physical needs. In the summer of 1999, my parents had just moved into a new house. We moved right before my birthday. My 8th birthday party was kind of like a housewarming little gig, and my parents had just started getting regular full-time help. More than anything, I remember just confusion. I knew without a doubt that that was not okay, but the confusion that resulted from that was, who's not okay? Who's wrong here? Who's guilty? I think there were too many questions for my 8-year-old mind to handle, and so I decided to take the path of less resistance, and I just decided to do nothing about it and just leave things the way they were. I assumed that my confusion and my silence, on an 8-year-old's level, gave my abuser the answer she was looking for as to, how this situation could possibly progress. And it did. I never fought. I never resisted. I never screamed. And I remember multiple times leaving the bathroom and I'd start reciting the Hebrew confessional prayer. And whilst I was doing that, I was wondering when this would happen again. I don't know how an adult can live with those, competing voices in their head. I don't know how a child lives with those competing voices in their head. What I remember quite clearly is that I was completely unaware that what had been going on was referred to as sexual abuse. In my mind, sexual abuse required a very important component, and that was that it required coercion. I was making every effort from the outside perspective to live, the best version of my life. And I was a happy kid, and I was, successful in my studies, and I still wanted to be a rabbi. And there were times that I would go to bed at night, and before I would do that, I'd look in the mirror, and I was convinced that the person that I saw in the mirror was the most despicable person in the entire world. I don't know, where do they send sinners? Whatever they do with, the worst of mankind, that's what they were going to do with me. As the years went along, I got married, which for me had been the hope that that would be healing. Here was going to be the first healthy, proper, appropriate sexual relationship in my life. Bear in mind that before I got married, I had never as much as held hands with another woman, the exception of my abuser. Getting married wasn't the magic potion. Shortly after my wife and I had our first child, I was not myself. I was, dealing with symptoms of depression and anxiety, and the stuff in my head wasn't just going away, and it wasn't just being put to bed quietly at night. It was demanding answers. In February of 2016, my parents and my wife sat me down and they said, you're not you. We think you should go and see somebody. And I was very resistant. It was, the prototypical therapist's office with the couch and the bookcase and his little thermos of coffee. And He looked at me and says, so what brings you here today? And he was the first human being that I ever said the words to. And I looked up at him and I said, I think I was sexually abused by my nanny. In the months that I started seeing my therapist, I think that there was kind of this natural progression from, okay, this was wrong. This is not your fault. Not only was this not your fault, but this is actually a crime. Pursuing the criminal element of it would mean publicly acknowledging that I had been sexually abused. And that was a non-starter. That was not going to happen. In January of 2018, Larry Nassar was brought to justice, and all of his survivors testified in open court on TV, and I watched Ali Reisman's testimony. And Ali was a Jewish girl and this world record-setting gymnast, and here she was telling the story. If a gold medal gymnast can be a survivor of sexual abuse, why can't a rabbi? On January 30th of 2018, I called the cops. And I remember walking out of the police station and I called my wife and I said, if I die today, I will die a happy man. She will know that this behavior did not go unnoticed. My abuser was arrested on 130 counts of sexual abuse. And I didn't know what to expect on any level. And seeing, my abuser's mugshot, under this headline, 130 counts, for the first time it really set in that a crime had been done to me. I testified on Tuesday, February 5th, and later that day my story was published. I was a survivor of sexual abuse for the whole world to know. For so many different reasons, it was the most healing thing I could have ever done. When I started healing, I think for me that was probably the biggest question, is if I'm not so terrible, where does that put me with God? What I can say is that having been on this journey with everything that it has entailed, leaves not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that this journey is divinely inspired. I could not be more thankful or grateful or appreciative to God for having given me the ability to see His hand guiding me down this path.